Hi, everybody. Welcome to Eating Peace video this week. So here with Work with Grace and Eating Peace videos, we're always looking at thought, feelings, perceptions, interpretation of the world, and particularly watching that when it is stressful. So stressful. And what I like noticing today is how this sense of stress ebbs and flows. It balloons out and then it fades out like a balloon losing its air, and then it seems to blow up again and then it comes back down. And sometimes it can feel very dramatic and then softens. And we're not really in charge of it. And something kind of powerful about just simply noticing that. An important belief, perception, way of seeing the world that really seems to ignite compulsion is I'm not safe. I spoke about that in a webinar, 5 different beliefs, but really I call it a spell of fear, awareness of fear, and just seeing that it takes over the body, it takes over the heart and the soul and the mind and everything that you're perceiving. If you've ever accidentally been afraid of something that actually wasn't there, or like somebody startled you and they didn't mean to, I have a funny story. Once on my daughter's 16th birthday, friends of hers prepared a surprise party, and I got to be there in the planning and preparing, and just they had so much put together. I barely had to do anything except for take pictures and sort of be in the dark house as they waited for daughter to come home. And one of her friends had the idea to take up one of her favorite characters from the movie The Hunger Games. It was in a big giant stand-up cutout shaped like the size of a human being, a real human being, as tall as he was in real life, and put it as if he was invited to the party as well, like over in the side of the room. And I was thinking, I'm not so sure in the dark if that's going to work very well, but we'll see. I mean, I didn't have much reference for it, didn't really think that much about it, but it was kind of like when knowing what surprise parties are like sometimes when people are leaping out at you, which not everybody likes, speaking of fear, that it can be a little disconcerting for some and also hilarious, right after, and joyful. So sure enough, what happened was when my daughter opened the door and entered the dark house and the lights went on and everybody screamed, the thing that she saw first was this big standing cutout figure of a person who was quite tall and looming, and it scared her half to death. And she actually shut the door and ran down the front walk. She didn't realize what was happening there. It was just terrifying for her. I always noticed just the pace of something like that happening, and it turned out okay. They ran after her, and it was a really funny story later on. She had a lot of nervous energy coursing through her as she was gathered up by everybody, brought back in, things settled down, and they celebrated her birthday. But just noticing that the wave of fear even had to have its own course of time. The adrenaline shoots through. It can't just be instantly gone. What are the responses that our mind has towards fear itself? Often it is, I hate this state. I cannot stand it. This has to go away as soon as possible. I need to do something about this status of fear. I need to worry about this. I can't let go of this. It's impossible to relax. If you've ever had a cycling, racing mind in the night, it's as if some part of that mind is saying, I really do need to think about this. It's all very well and fine that you want to go to sleep, but I need to think about this. It's just the mind doing what it does. And it's okay that the mind is doing that. It's busy, being a mind. Taking it seriously. How do we do that? Well, first of all, a little more on what happens when we believe I do need to worry about it, or a strong part, enough of us to be staying awake, believes it. It's seeing that we get completely engulfed by the situation. It becomes the only and most important thing that we're on to. The spotlight gets incredibly narrowed and focused, like a telescope going way, way, way in, a little magnifying glass on the thing that we're concerned with. If you've ever had a difficult conversation with somebody, or troubling thing that happened in a relationship, or something you saw, you see the image over and over again. It's flashing before you. So this kind of triggering experience, this in the body sensation, is often what's happening in our minds when it comes to food and eating, because there's so many rules about food and eating running. Rules about what should not be happening and what should be happening and what's bad if it happens. It's almost as if food itself becomes a terrifying substance in just about every form. There could be something that could go wrong with it. Almost always, when you've narrowed down your focus and done heavy, heavy thinking about this thing called food, you also believe that this thing that is so dangerous is also incredibly interesting, helpful. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to give you comfort. It feels so good to just take a bite of it. Oh. So it's like got a dual, like there's a war going on, because this thing that is could provide comfort is also something to be frightened of. I cannot just relax in the presence of this thing called food, or this behavior called eating. So I have the brake on and I have the gas pedal on at the same time when it comes to eating, when it comes to food. And that can sort of generate more fuel, more energy. A grand overarching thought about having eating issues themselves can then become, when there's this fear involved, I need to research and find the answers, the solutions. I need to watch videos on how to get calmer. I need to use my tools and meditate and follow the instructions and be in the present moment and weigh and measure my food and manage and control. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, because any of those things can be incredibly supportive and helpful for people in certain periods of time in their life, and maybe forever. There's a lot of people, including me, that meditate ongoing for many years, enjoy that practice. But if there becomes a have to, should, right way, wrong way, like a gripping feeling about that, and that I need to figure this eating problem out, I think I have an eating problem, I can be afraid because of how long it's taking to solve the problem. Almost every encounter that I have with it, even thoughts about getting over this, become threatening in some way, like dangerous. And I'm not saying heavy, catastrophic danger, tragedy. I'm saying it's like just low-level anxiety. There's a problem here. There's a problem here. It's almost like the mind is singing the song. There's a problem. Sometimes there's a little bitsy bit of a problem. Sometimes the smell is very small or the sound is very low. And sometimes it's playing like a full-blown symphony orchestra or a heavy metal band. It's just a humongous, giant noise, and it's a problem. But hardly ever does the mind open up to the thought, who would I be without the story? There is a problem here, and I must be the one to solve it, says the mind. Who's the I that we're talking to? It's usually the mind. What if I actually let go? Often, what people report is that if they let go and they don't apply effort and apply control and gain more willpower, figure out put another tool in the toolbox, read another book, sort it out, go to another therapist, that If they don't do that, they'll become incredibly passive and they'll have to live with this problem forever. It will never go away and it'll be horrible. Anxious, heavy, busy thinking is like this on any topic. If I don't solve this, if I don't figure this out, if I don't understand it, if I don't know why it was here and how to get rid of it, I will never be happy. I have to make it go away. The mind is coming up with that idea. It's another thought. It's what needs to happen. Whatever needs to happen is not happening now. So it is quite something to ask the fourth question in the work of Byron Katie, to ask this in any kind of format of self-inquiry that you want to call it. Who am I without my story of fear? Especially when it comes to food or eating or body image, and just to notice the frequency that we've lived with believing, I do need to worry about this, whatever it is. People, incidents, situations, food, weight, health. It's almost as if it's part of the job of the mind to be very interested in anything that could go wrong or has gone wrong in the past. It's like it can't let go of it. Notice how much thinking has happened about the things that we think are problems. So much thinking. I need to think about this. Who would I be without my story? And then I even need to get rid of the thinking, bizarrely enough. Who would I be without that thought? What would that be like? Where my mind goes is almost funny. It's like, what? There's no job for me to do here? I would be in denial if I said there's no problem. That can't be it. There is a problem. It's obvious. Look at this. Look, have you seen how I eat? Have you seen how much I weigh? That's my proof. Who would you be without the story right now in this moment? As you're listening to these words, as you sit in this moment without the story, there is absolutely for sure a problem here. Who would you be just with that, letting doubt come in? And that means the doubt that there's a problem. What if I'm not the one that needs to be in charge of this or to find the answer? What if I'm inherently built with what's necessary to be a human animal on this planet that has food coming and going with the body? What if that's built into me and it got lost somewhere along the way? I certainly know that when I was a little infant baby, I wasn't thinking, gosh, I wonder if I ate too much. I better cut back next time. It wasn't even in the consciousness. I love that we have the capacity for imagination and we can wonder about that. We can actually grow that. It becomes more exciting and interesting, not just with food and eating, which is like a magnificent, kind of amazing opening into wondering who you'd be without thoughts of fear around anything that you kind of have no control over. I mean, there's that great underlying question, what do I have control over? Is it okay that I don't have control over something? All I know is when I tried to control food and eating, I had less control. When I let it be at the pace that it was, if I let adrenaline rise and then fall back down, I noticed my daughter feeling a little shaky and nervous. Her arms are kind of shaking, but she was happy and then sort of settling down as the evening went by. That's the way of it. That was the way of it. Natural. Just being as it is, letting it be as it is, not in the mind's timeline, but in whatever feels natural. So on Monday, at the time of this recording, Monday, September 27th, 2021, which has not apparently happened yet at the time of this recording, we'll be having a week-long online eating peace retreat. So for those who suffer from eating fears about the way of eating in any form that it manifests. It doesn't matter if you have a normal shaped body, a heavy body, a thin body, a controlled body. It doesn't matter. If your experience has been a frightening one when it comes to food and eating, or one where you feel a lacking of peace, that's what we're going to be looking at together. We're just going to be sitting and being and getting more and more excited, because we just can't help it, with curiosity about what it's like to let go of this as a problem. What is it like to let go of this as a problem? So I'll put the link for anyone who might be interested in joining. But meanwhile, you can just ask yourself that question, whether you join a retreat or not. Sometimes it really helped me to be in a group with people, because my own mind wasn't coming up with the best ideas. And it was always trying to find solutions outside of myself. And there's something wonderful about joining with others to collectively relax with our experience of food and eating. So if you're drawn, I hope you'll join me. And I'll be sure to put a link down below this video where it appears, so that you can know how to register. And meanwhile, just practice that. Wow, I wonder what it would be like if I wasn't concerned about this in a good way, in a peaceful, open way. Who would I be without my story? Who would I be? Lots of love.